There are stories that cannot be spoken, only painted with patience and devotion, and in the world of Indonesian batik, every line, every pattern is a whisper of the past echoing through the hands of today. This is the story of the hands of the Archipelago, a journey through art that breathes life into heritage. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, because your support helps us continue telling the stories that keep culture alive. In this documentary, we invite you to travel across Indonesia, from Java to Sumatra, from the small villages to the vibrant cities, where the art of batik remains a sacred dialogue between creativity and identity. Every drop of wax carries meaning, every color tells emotion, and every pattern connects generations through a silent thread of love and faith. This is not merely about fabric, it is about memory, about learning to create and to preserve at once. So open your heart and let us explore how the art of batik becomes more than beauty. It becomes a lesson in patience, resilience, and devotion, a mirror of the soul of Indonesia itself. Long before modern fashion and textile industries emerged, there was batik, born from the humble hands of ancestors who believed that art is prayer and patience is its language. In the ancient courts of Java, batik was once reserved for royalty, a symbol of wisdom and virtue. Each motif was not randomly chosen, but carried messages of hope and protection. The parang pattern symbolized strength and leadership, while kawang represented purity and balance. To wear them was to embody their meaning, not just adorn oneself. Over time, batik flowed beyond the palace walls. It became a people's art, one that united craftsmen, traders, and families through generations. Its roots spread into villages where women and men sat together, creating lines of wax in silence, yet speaking through the rhythm of their tools. The art survived colonization, industrialization, and even the digital era, because it was never just an economic craft. It was a spiritual inheritance, a reminder that creation itself is a sacred act of remembering who we are. In a small workshop somewhere in Yogyakarta, the scent of hot wax fills the air, and the sound of canting against cloth creates a melody older than memory. Here, art is born from repetition, from breath, and from belief. The canting, a simple copper pen filled with melted wax, becomes an extension of the soul. Every hand that holds it carries the intention of the maker, careful, precise, and steady. Through the quiet concentration, each artist learns the meaning of surrender, because batik does not allow haste, only harmony. Learning to batik is learning to listen to time. It teaches patience as the wax flows slowly across the cloth, forming delicate lines that cannot be undone. It teaches humility, for one mistake may ruin days of work, and yet from those mistakes comes wisdom. Through the act of creating batik, one realizes that the true masterpiece is not the fabric itself, but the journey of the hands and the heart that made it. Each pattern in batik speaks its own language, one that transcends words and time. The motifs carry values, stories, and prayers once passed down through generations, not in books, but in strokes of wax. There are patterns reserved for sacred ceremonies, such as truntum, symbolizing eternal love and growing affection, created by a queen for her king. There are also motifs like mega mendung from Cirebon, representing patience and calmness, like clouds that shelter the land beneath them. Each region of Indonesia adds its own dialect to this language. Pekalongan, with its coastal vibrancy, filled with bright floral patterns. Solo and Yogyakarta, with their royal elegance. Bali and Madura, with their bold colors and expressive forms. Together they form a national dialogue of art, reminding us that unity does not mean sameness, but harmony in diversity, the essence of Indonesia itself. The making of batik is a dance between human hands and nature. Beginning with plain white cloth, the artist sketches patterns either by memory or intuition. Wax is then applied by canting or by stamp to cover the areas that should remain untouched by dye. The cloth is dipped in color, dried, and boiled to remove the wax, revealing patterns hidden beneath the surface. This process may be repeated many times with different colors, each layer adding depth and meaning until the fabric becomes a painting of patience. To witness this process is to witness a meditation in motion. No machines, no rush, only rhythm and breath, as if every artisan is conversing with time itself, learning that beauty is not born from speed, but from devotion. In the final reveal, when the wax melts away and the patterns appear, it feels like a revelation, as if the cloth itself remembers its purpose. In modern Indonesia, many schools and communities teach children to make batik, not only as art, but as a lesson in character, for through the process they learn more than skill, they learn values. Children learn patience in tracing delicate lines, discipline in maintaining rhythm, and pride in preserving culture. They learn that mistakes are not failures, but opportunities to begin again. These lessons echo the philosophy that has guided generations, that art is not merely to be admired, but to be lived. The making of batik thus becomes a bridge connecting the young and the old, the present and the past. And in every classroom filled with laughter and the scent of wax, the spirit of batik continues to live, teaching new hands how to hold tradition with care and creativity. In batik, color is not decoration, it is language. Every shade carries meaning. Yellow often symbolizes glory and hope, brown humility and the earth, red bravery and passion, blue calmness and trust. The way these colors blend reflects the harmony of life itself. No single color dominates, but all coexist, creating balance and beauty through contrast. The traditional dyes once came from plants, roots, and earth, each tone achieved through natural patience, through days of soaking and drying under the sun. This respect for nature mirrors the respect for time that defines the soul of batik. In a world that moves too fast, batik reminds us that true art takes time, that harmony is achieved not by rushing, but by listening to what nature and life wish to teach. For Indonesians, batik is more than heritage, it is identity. It is a symbol worn with pride during wedding ceremonies and national celebrations. Every piece tells where one comes from and what one believes. When the world recognized batik as a masterpiece of intangible heritage, it was not just about the patterns, it was about the spirit of a nation that has learned to express its unity through threads of diversity. Each time someone wears batik, they wear the memory of their ancestors, the sweat of their artisans, and the dreams of a culture that refuses to fade. This act of wearing becomes both tribute and continuity. Thus, batik is not only seen, it is felt. It moves beyond fabric into the realm of meaning. Today, young artisans bring new life to batik, experimenting with contemporary motifs, sustainable dyes, and modern fashion. Yet they remain rooted in the same philosophy. Their innovation honors tradition, not replaces it. In studios across the archipelago, young creators blend digital art with hand-drawn wax. They mix modern themes with traditional symbols, proving that batik is not a relic, but a living art that evolves with its people. These creative minds remind us that preservation does not mean freezing the past, it means allowing heritage to breathe through new generations. Their work is a dialogue between what was and what can be, between memory and imagination, between tradition and tomorrow. To learn batik is to learn through touch, through feeling rather than words. The hand becomes the bridge between thought and creation. It is a form of education where knowledge is absorbed not by memorizing, but by making. This is the essence of Indonesian craftsmanship, the belief that wisdom flows from experience, that the mind follows the movement of the hands, and that true understanding is built through doing. In this way, the process of making batik becomes a reflection of life itself, filled with imperfection, persistence, and grace. Each drop of wax is a lesson, each pattern a story. Through this philosophy, generations continue to learn that the greatest art is not perfection but sincerity. The story of batik is not about a single artist, but about thousands of hands across centuries, each contributing a line, a color, a dream. Together, they form the grand tapestry of Indonesia. These are the hands that weave unity from difference, that preserve wisdom through creation, that remind us that culture is not built overnight, but crafted with patience over lifetimes. As long as there are hands willing to create, there will always be heritage willing to live. And so we close this journey through the hands of the archipelago, a tribute to every artisan, every learner, every soul that believes in the power of creativity to protect the essence of who we are. Batik is more than fabric, it is memory wrapped in color, patience shaped into beauty, and love transformed into art. Through these hands, the story of Indonesia continues to breathe. If this journey has inspired you, if you have felt the rhythm of the canting, the warmth of tradition, and the harmony of color, then let your support become part of this legacy. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Hidden World EDU so we can continue to explore the stories that connect art, culture, and humanity. Because every hand that creates, every heart that learns, and every viewer that cares helps keep the spirit of the archipelago alive forever. As we take our final look at the intricate lines that shape the art of batik, we realize that every stroke, every color, every drop of wax carries not just the artist's hand, but the soul of an entire culture that has learned to express devotion through beauty. In Indonesia, creativity is not born from luxury. It is born from the need to remember, from the desire to honor the ancestors who once shaped life with patience and humility. This living tradition continues to remind us that heritage is not something we simply inherit, it is something we must nurture and pass forward, like the gentle passing of the canting from teacher to student, generation to generation. Batik becomes a form of silent communication, a way for the past to whisper to the present, and for the present to promise the future that it will not forget. To create batik is to engage in a sacred act of remembering. It is not about perfection, but about connection between heart and hand, between color and story, between self and culture. It teaches us that beauty is not only seen, but felt in the process of making and in the stories behind it. So when you next see or wear a piece of batik, remember the hands that made it, the patience that shaped it, and the generations of wisdom that live within its patterns. These are the hands of the archipelago, and they will continue to move as long as we remember their meaning. We have journeyed together through the wax and the dye, through the silent patience of the artisans and the timeless rhythm of their hands. But this story does not end here. It continues in you and all who appreciate art as a vessel of memory and meaning. If you believe that creativity can preserve culture, if you feel inspired by the quiet strength of tradition, then join us in keeping this spirit alive. Your simple act of liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing can help us tell more stories that connect humanity through culture, through craft, and through compassion. Together, let us protect and celebrate the beauty that defines Indonesia, a beauty not built in haste, but nurtured in silence through the warmth of hands and the depth of soul. Thank you for watching, for feeling, and for believing that in every handmade creation there is a heartbeat of history and a promise of tomorrow.